Hi, this is Ken Marsh, and today I'm in the studio with Brad King. You may recognize Brad's name. He's a well-respected nutritional researcher. He's also a performance nutritionist and a fitness expert who holds a master's degree in nutritional science and is certified by the International Sports Science Association as a Master of Fitness Science. Brad is also a recent inductee into the Canadian Sports Nutrition Hall of Fame. He's the author of 7 books, including international bestseller Fat Wars, 45 Days to Transform Your Body, BioAge, 10 Steps to a Younger You, Awaken Your Metabolism, Your Ultimate Guide to Abundant Energy, and most recently, Conquer Inflammation. Aside from being highlighted in numerous national magazines, health publications, and newspapers, Brad regularly appears as a leading health and fitness expert on national television programs throughout North America and has been heard on hundreds of radio talk shows. Brad is the person who is referred to by the International Mentors magazine as one of the most influential up-and-coming health mentors of our time. Brad, it's great to have you here in the studio today.
Thanks, Ken. It's great to be here.
Brad, I got to tell you, I know you're an author of numerous different books, but I haven't read them all. I did read one, though, because the title really intrigued me. It was Awaken Your Metabolism. And the thing I loved about the book is you talk in there about how somebody can actually regain the energy levels they had like when they were a kid.
Well, someone famous once said, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? And this is very true for the majority of the population, because I think we get so caught up in how many candles we have on our birthday cakes, how old we are on a chronological level. Really, how many years have we been here on this earth? We have to realize that we're only as old as our cells' ability to really be able to repair themselves. And we call that, in science, anabolic metabolism, or anabolism. And what that means is the body has this incredible ability to be able to repair and replace and replenish worn out cells. And we do this approximately 300 billion times in a 24-hour period, especially when we're young and we're vital and we're energetic. Well, what happens is we also fight an opposing force to that positive force of metabolism, and we call that catabolic metabolism, or catabolism. And what that is that's the breakdown state of affairs, so to speak. That's when the body breaks down those cells before they can actually be replaced or replenished. And from the time we're born, we go through anabolic metabolism and catabolic metabolism. And what happens is when we're young and we're vital and we produce all of that beautiful energy that so many of us when we're that age take for granted, we are primarily in this rebuild phase, this anabolic phase. And at one time in our life or another, unfortunately these days at a very young age, usually in our teens or our 20s, what happens is we lose that youthful advantage. We lose that anabolic advantage. And we begin to break down a little quicker than the body is able to actually keep up with all of those repair mechanisms. So in a very real sense, we actually do become a little more catabolic at too young an age, which means we prematurely age. And one of the factors behind prematurely aging is we lose this incredible ability to maintain peak energy production. My book, Awaken Your Metabolism, was really how to regain that lost potential that we had in our youth. And I really do believe that the majority of our population is guilty of something called acceptance. And what I mean by that, Ken, is we accept this less than optimal way that we feel from day to day. And the reason we do this is because we can't remember what it felt like to produce that optimum energy when we were 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 or 20. And what happens is we live with this energy deficit. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about severe energy deficit disorders such as chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm talking about the everyday lull that the majority of the population experiences. I'm talking about, waking up in the morning and having aches and pains, the first thing that you experience when you wake up. I'm talking about waking up and really having to run a hot shower just so we can move our body in the morning. And I'm talking about the millions upon millions of individuals throughout North America primarily that have to brew that cup of coffee first thing in the morning just to get through the morning. And that cup of coffee, unfortunately, which turns into the pot of coffee. And that pot of coffee, which turns into the pot of coffee in the afternoon and unfortunately many times in the evening as well. We, in a very real sense, educate our bodies to no longer be able to use fuels effectively. We lose that optimum energy production, and the majority of us live with it as if there's nothing we can do about it. But science shows us there's many things we can do to regain that lost potential of youth. And I'm not talking about becoming that 5-year-old again, Ken. I'm talking about regaining youthful metabolism. Whatever that youthful metabolism is, it means you're going to perform better than you're presently performing. It means that you're going to feel better than you presently feel. It means that you're going to look better than you presently look. And you put all of that into one package, and that, in a very real sense, is what youthfulness is all about. That's what that vitality is. And that is metabolism. And that, in a general sense of the word, is what we need to regain. It's what we need to become in touch with again. And we can do that if we're willing to take the necessary steps to get there again.
Brad, something you just said caught my attention. You said fuel for your body. What do you define as fuel for this metabolism?
Well, fuel is exactly what it is. It's the very substances that the human body requires to function. Now, never mind to just live, because unfortunately the majority of people are doing just that. They're surviving, really. They're not really living, they're surviving. They're alive, they're breathing. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't doing that very well nowadays either. But the point is, fuel is what is necessary to keep us alive. And it falls into various factors. And those factors are really what we call the large nutrients that the human body requires in obviously large dosages. And those macronutrients are primarily the proteins and the various building blocks of those proteins that become our hair and our skin and our eyes and our immune system, and the chemicals in which our brain uses to transmit messages. We call those neurotransmitters. Everything for the human body really has a protein base when you think about it. And then we have carbohydrates as well. And, that's a whole subject unto itself, because I think people have become very skewed in their idea of what carbohydrates are all about nowadays. And people feel that they don't need any carbohydrates because they've gotten so mixed up with the various diet fads that are available in the industry and have come and gone. And that's a whole other tape series that we're talking about. But carbohydrates are a fuel source for the human body, and the various sugars which comprise those carbohydrates when they're broken down by our digestive enzymes. That's a whole other series as well, because we understand that the individual fatty acids that comprise those fats that we take in, well, you have good fats, but you also do have bad fats, and the same goes for the carbohydrates. You have good carbohydrates and you have bad carbohydrates. But there's other macronutrients nobody talks about that we need in very large dosages. And really, the most important macronutrient, if you really want to get down to it, is oxygen. You can't live, for more than a few minutes without oxygen. And whatever happened to water? You can't go more than a couple of days without water. And water is a macronutrient. And our bodies can, they're not comprised of 70% pop or juice or coffee or whatever other substance you want to talk about. We have forgotten as a society that we once were, and we still are, comprised primarily of water. When you're talking about youth and youthful metabolism and that anabolic phase of metabolism, which we all want to get back to in whatever way we can, we do have to talk about water, because water is the life factor. Water is what comprises those 70% of our cells when we're young. And the reason I say that when we're young is because as we get older, we dehydrate from the inside out. We literally start to dry up. Dr. Batman Galage, one of the world's premier researchers in water biochemistry, an MD in the United States, who wrote a bestseller called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. He treats many disorders by increasing water intake. It almost sounds like a no-brainer. But he has actually said that aging is very much a disease of drying up. we shrivel up, but we shrivel up from the inside out. We lose what we call